Cold email outreach has generated millions of dollars in revenue for us and our customers, not through some fancy complicated funnel or some secret strategy, but through a dead simple system that is just executed well week over week and month over month. And after sending millions of cold emails across dozens of customers and booking thousands of sales meetings, I noticed that there's three key parts of a cold email system that make the biggest difference, which is infrastructure, lists, and scripts. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how you can nail all three of those components to generate more sales meetings and revenue for your business. Jumping in, first we're going to talk about infrastructure, then lists, then scripts. Let's get to it. So first thing you're going to want to need if you're going to be successful with cold outreach is having good email infrastructure. Now, going deeper onto this, there's two core components in nailing email infrastructure. Number one is don't land in spam. If your emails land in spam, no one's going to see them. And the second thing is to send enough. If you don't send enough emails, you're not going to get much results. So first, we're going to talk about not landing in the spam folder. To be able to do this correctly, this boils down to three more things, which number one is the domains, number two is the email accounts, and number three is the sending tool. So starting off, you're going to want to purchase multiple domains. The provider you use doesn't matter. You can use GoDaddy, Squarespace, Porkbun, Dynadot. There's a million of them. It really doesn't matter. And you're going to want to set up multiple email addresses per domain. Now, the reason why you don't want to just blast a bunch of emails from your primary email account is this going to cause you to get flagged, go to spam, and because there are restrictions around how many emails you can send from a singular account. And even if you don't hit those restrictions, there's a lot of soft rules where if you send a bunch of emails, it's very clear that you're just sending mass outreach emails, which causes you to land in spam. So to start, you're going to want to purchase multiple domains. Provider doesn't matter. You're going to set up 1 to 5 email addresses per domain. In my opinion, less is more, 1 or 2, maybe 3 email accounts per domain. If you need help picking out names to set up whenever you're doing your cold outreach, I have this handy dandy YouTube video, which you can watch after this video if you want to see how to generate cold email domain names. So you can go to Porkbun, Dynadot, Squarespace, any of these providers, and you pick out the names you want, then you can just go ahead and purchase them, and you're going to want to create email accounts. So the domain is the website, the email account is like matt@website.com. The two providers that I prefer are Google and Microsoft. The reason why is because Google and Microsoft are trillion-dollar companies, and they inherently manage their reputations around their email accounts pretty well. If you use a private server company, they don't have the big reputation of Google and Microsoft, and so they're going to be more strict whenever they look at those IPs because they don't know who's managing them, and so there's a lot higher chance that something could go wrong. Now, does that mean that all private SMTP options are bad? Not necessarily. It's just that there can be more variance and there's less kind of monitoring because they're not under the big umbrella of Google and Microsoft, if that makes sense. So beware of it. You can still see success with it. I still use them depending on the use case. After you purchase the email accounts, Google, Microsoft, to do this, very simple. Workspace.google.com is where you go to purchase the Google ones. Microsoft, you can just Google how to buy Microsoft email account. You can go there. You can set up your email accounts. You connect the domains, and you have to set up your DNS records. You have your DMARC record, your DKIM record, and your SPF record. Whenever you make a new email account, it will automatically prompt you to set up your SPF record. So it is hard to mess that up. If you just go to Google's email website and you set up an email account, it will prompt you to make it. Same with Microsoft. For your DMARC record, all you have to do is Google. If you just type in DMARC record and you can copy and paste, there's like a couple websites that have them. You can just copy and paste them straight from Google. DKIM record, to set this up, it really just depends on the provider. Google, you have to go into your security settings. Microsoft, you also have to go into your security settings. You generate it. It's not that hard. All these things in a vacuum can take a few minutes, and it depends if you're doing Google or Microsoft or with a private server. So I'm not going to go through all three examples, but it is pretty straightforward. Google and ChatGPT are your best friend here. It is not that complicated. So all you have to do, purchase the email accounts, set them up with Google or Microsoft, set up your DNS records, and you're already off to the races. I would assume, and we're going to talk about this in the sending section here, assume that you're going to send about 15 to 25 cold emails out per day per email address. So if you want to work backwards and you want to say, let's say you want to send 1,000 emails a day, let's assume 20 just to cut it in the middle, divide 1,000 by 20. There you go. That means you need 50 email addresses to be able to send that volume. So we're going to talk about volume here in a second. I would say that's a reasonable starting point. Real quick, if you want the link to the document I'm showing you in this video, check one of the links in the description below and you can grab it there. Now that you've purchased your domains from GoDaddy, Porkbun, Squarespace, whichever one you want, and you've set up your email accounts using Google or Microsoft, you're going to want to connect them to a sending tool. So all a sending tool does is it allows you to send all those hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of emails in a nice, neat place across all those different email accounts you created. I would just say use a modern sending tool. There's a bunch of them. I prefer SmartLead. The reason why I prefer SmartLead is because I think they have some features that a lot of other platforms don't have. And also, I've just been using it for so long. So not to say that they're the end all be all tool. There are plenty of tools you can use. Smart Lead is my preferred tool. So you ultimately just want to make sure you have a tool that has inbox rotation, warm up, strong analytics, reasonable pricing. There's a lot of other features, but I would say Smart Lead checks all those boxes. And that's the tool that I'd recommend and is my preferred tool. All you have to do after you get these email accounts, you can go over to smartlead.ai. You can go over to their website, log in, create an account, and it will help you from there. From there, you can go and press connect an email account and you're off to the races. Another really clever thing is if you go over here in a Smart Lead and you press log in, I don't want to pull up my account because that has all my stuff and I don't want to give a bunch of stress to my editors. But if you go in, you can actually purchase the domains and email accounts natively through there. So if you don't want to go through all the hassle of buying your own domains, getting all the providers, getting all the logins, setting up all the DNS records, you can just go to Smart Lead and do both steps directly through there. You can just go to Smart Lead, log in, make an account, and you can purchase email accounts and have them connected through there. So that's a nice, really cool feature. The next thing after you do all of this is you're going to want to enable warm up. So warm up is the process of sending emails back and forth between other accounts on Smart Lead's network. You do this for 2 weeks, your emails will start to build reputation. I've tested trying to do this for longer, but I haven't seen much of a difference compared to doing it for 2 weeks or doing it for 4 weeks. So just let your emails warm up for a little bit, have them get some activity across other providers on the network. And if you do that for a couple weeks, you should be good and off the races. Last thing you're going to want to do in the sending tool, among a few other things, is you're going to want to make sure your campaigns are plain text, meaning you are not sending links, you're not sending images, you're not tracking opens. It is not that hard to do that. I actually just pulled up a Smart Lead campaign. There's a nice big button here which says boost your deliverability by sending emails in plain text without HTML. What this does is it removes all the junk from your email. So it removes open rate tracking. If you have any hyperlinks, it removes your hyperlinks. If you tick this box, it does quite literally what it says it does, which is optimizing your email delivery, meaning there's a higher chance your emails are going to land in the inbox folder. So I recommend you can do this in Smart Lead. You should be able to do this in any major sending tool. If you press this box, this will help your delivery and it will help it so that you are less likely to land in the spam folder. So you're going to want to make sure you have this box ticked. What to do if you're landing in spam? So let's say you send out a bunch of emails and you see that your reply rate drops off a cliff with no changes, then you should set up a new email account. If you do everything I just talked about here, it can happen that you can follow all the best practices and still land in spam over a long enough period of time. The reason why is because if you send poor quality emails to wrong lists, or there can be a variety of factors, I'm not going to list them all here, but if your emails start landing in spam, which you can tell if your reply rate drops off a cliff, then you should just purchase new email accounts and kill the old ones. So very simple. If you have a bunch of cars and you're driving the cars and the cars stop working, get rid of those cars and buy new cars. Very simple analogy just to illustrate. Now, the important thing I want to note here is to please run proper split tests. And before you make an assessment that something is broken, just check first. I've been on so many consulting calls at this point where people think that their email deliverability is off when they follow these best practices, which by the way, if you do all these things and you have a good list and you have a good script, you're probably not going to run into too many issues with spam. But assuming this is the case, you did everything I showed you and you're worried that your emails are landing in spam because you thought your reply rates dropped, please run proper split tests. Have you seen so many cases where people will duplicate out a campaign, their second campaign will get a worse reply rate than their first campaign, then in their mind they think that their email accounts are broken, when in reality they just sent worse email copy, they tried a new lead list that has either worse performance or just different performance. It might take more time for it to mature and generate results. There's so many different reasons why your reply rates could go down. I'm making the assumption that you're doing everything right here. If you run an email campaign and nothing changed and you did everything right and you're tracking your analytics perfectly and you see a substantial drop in your email account's reply rate, there's a good chance your emails are landing in spam. Now, Smart Lead also has other tools inside their platform to allow you to diagnose if your emails are landing in spam. One of them is checking your warm-up scores. So you can see here inside Smart Lead on the right-hand side, all these numbers on the right side here, this is your warm-up score. So it shows you what proportion of your warm-up emails, meaning the emails you're sending to other people on Smart Lead, are landing in spam. If this number drops to like 80%, 85%, or anything lower than that, you can be pretty sure that your cold emails are landing in spam because the warm-up emails that Smart Lead is sending are typically a lot spam friendlier, if that makes sense. Like they use less spam words, they keep them really short. In short, if you're seeing issues with your warm-up scores, you're probably going to see issues with your main account. So you can tell if your emails are landing in spam. If your reply rates drop off a cliff, please run a proper split test. Don't jump to an assessment here. So now that we've talked about all the boring stuff that you should do to make sure that you don't land in the spam folder, hopefully, now we're going to talk about sending volume. And my goal here is to hopefully convince you that you should send a lot more emails than you probably think you should. After sending millions and millions and millions of emails on behalf of our customers, we roughly see one meeting scheduled for every 2,000 emails sent. This is a little bit of a flawed metric. I'm going to give a lot of reasons why, but I'm sharing this to give a general benchmark. The reason why is because a lot of people think they can send a couple hundred emails a day and suddenly their calendar is going to be full. And maybe you are the special case where that is true because you sell some crazy thing that no one else in the market sells. But for a vast majority of people, if you send very little emails, you're going to get very little results. And we do this for a living. I'd like to think we're pretty okay at sending cold emails at scale across all kinds of different offers, all kinds of different industries, all kinds of different variables that we have. We roughly see one meeting booked per every 2,000 emails sent. Now, we have some customers that see significantly better numbers than this. We have some customers that see significantly worse numbers than this. I also want to highlight the email sent does not mean leads contacted. So this might mean for every 500 to 1,000 leads we contact, we might get a meeting booked because we send 2 to 4 emails. And then on top of this, some of these people, or a lot of these people who say that they're interested, don't actually book a call. So it might mean that every 100 to 500 people we reach out to say that they're interested. The reason why I say all these things is because there's someone I already know typing in the comments, hey, well, if you send 1,000 emails to get a book call or 2,000 emails, that's not that great. Well, the truth is that most people that see any sort of advertisement, even if it's the right people, even if you did everything right, are not interested because most people that see advertisements don't respond to them. So this is totally normal. And if anyone out there gets amazing results at scale, I'd love to see your results. I'd love to copy you. But we book thousands and thousands of meetings with cold email, and I do this for a living. I'd like to think we're okay at it. And these are the numbers that we're seeing. And I've also checked my notes with a bunch of other people, so I don't think I'm that crazy. Point being is that it takes a lot of emails, it takes a lot of reach outs, it takes a lot of data, even when you're doing everything properly to get people on the phone. The other thing I want to highlight is there's a wide variance between customer types. If you sell an IT service, if you're watching this video, you sell IT services, you tend to get worse results on average than most of the other industries that we work with. If you reach out to people that are higher headcount, think like Fortune 500 companies, enterprise companies, you will get less meetings on average than someone who targets small businesses. If you're willing to offer something for free, you will typically get better results. If you have specific case studies and you get better results, you will get better results. So all this being said, I want to give a general benchmark because someone out there might be watching this video and they might want to book 10 calls a month or 20 calls a month or 100 calls per month. You can use this benchmark from me sending millions of emails to get a general idea of how much volume you're going to need to send. So to get 10 meetings per month, you're going to need to send 20,000 or so emails per month to get 10 or so meetings scheduled. Hopefully that makes sense. And again, these are ballpark figures. We have some customers who are way better, way worse, everywhere in between. All I'm really trying to get at is that if you want big results, you usually need to do big sending. There are over 300 billion emails sent every single day. Whatever you think is big is probably not that big. On top of that, 90% of the people that you will reach out to will tune you out and not respond to you. Let's say an industry average is to get like a 1 to 5% response rate. That means that 95 to 99% of the people you're reaching out to won't even say a word to the email you're sending. Thousands of people pass by billboards every day without taking action. Thousands of people see ads every day and take action. Thousands of people are going to watch this video and take no action. This is normal. This is advertising. To be able to get results from reaching out to people, it is no different than pretty much every other advertising channel. And I would argue that the results you're going to get by doing cold outreach are probably going to be a lot better than you're going to get with other mediums like billboards and ads and all the types of things for how many people you're reaching out to how how many people book a call. All that being said, if you want to generate more results with your email outreach, you need to send more emails. So many people fail before they start because they send too little emails. This is me saying this out of passion. I get on so many calls with people and they come to the calls and they've sent a few hundred or maybe even a few thousand emails and they're worried that something isn't working. And the reality is that they're just not doing enough. And just to highlight this point, I want to show you a real live dashboard of my Smart Lead account for one of our customers. This is one of our customers who is generating hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of interested leads every single month. This customer generated close to 100 sales meetings just in 1 month, just from cold email outreach. And to do this, if you look at the numbers, we are sending thousands and thousands and thousands. You can see this one campaign, and this is not even all of the campaigns. These are the campaigns we're building over the course of a few weeks. We're sending tens of thousands of emails, which gets us hundreds of replies. And even when you do everything properly and a double-digit amount of those people are interested, you still need to send thousands and thousands and tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of emails to get these kinds of results. So for the person watching this out there, if you want to be successful with cold outreach, start by setting up enough email accounts to be able to send volume. This does not mean to spam people. I want to be crystal clear. Do not spam people. Do not send terrible messages to people that don't need your services. But if you want to see success with cold outreach, you need to send a lot of emails. If you want a rough starting point, start at a bare minimum of 500 emails per day. Even in my my eyes, this is what I would consider to be pretty low volume sending. In most cases, I would say start at 1,000 a day. That's kind of like dipping your toes in the water. And if you want to generate, 20, 30, 50, 100, 200 or more meetings per month, somewhere in these neighborhoods, you're going to need to send thousands or even tens of thousands of emails per day. Because again, even if you nail everything right that I'm about to talk here on lists and scripts and strategy and everything else, you need to get in front of a substantial amount of people to get a substantial amount of them to raise their hand, and thus a substantial amount of them to get on calls and hopefully pay you money. So hopefully this makes sense. Now let's talk about lead lists, how to build big lists of ideal customers that you want to be reaching out to, so hopefully they can purchase your services. While building lead lists is not a one-size-fits-all approach, I'm going to try and make it as concise and relevant and make it applicable to as many people as possible, because chances are you're going to use one of the tools I'm going to be talking about here in a second. Now, before you jump into the tools and start building your list, you're going to want to determine the strategy, or more specifically, you're going to want to figure out who you're going to want to prioritize in your outreach. So the way I like to think about it is to segment out your market. So within your market, there's your total addressable market, which is the widest possible interpretation of everyone you could possibly reach out to. So think, if I am a cold email lead generation agency, I can reach out to any business owner that sells B2B. Or if your total addressable market sell an advertising service, maybe it's every business owner in the United States. Awesome. Now within your total addressable market, there's going to be your ideal client profile. So this is a subdivision of your total addressable market. And these are the people that are most likely to pay you money, or the people that you most want to work with and are the best fit for your services. So they might be the people that retain the longest or have the highest lifetime value, or whatever it is. These are your group within everyone you can reach out to. This is your ideal bucket of people. So maybe it's businesses that are doing at least $10 million a year with a certain amount of site traffic, whatever it is. Okay. Now within your ideal client profile, so first layer of the onion, total addressable market, second layer of the onion, ideal client profile. Within your ideal client profile, there are segments, and there can be multiple segments. So these are the different personas within your ideal client profile that you will write targeted messages to, which we're going to get to in the script writing section, and you can segment out to make targeted campaigns to. So as an example, let's say you want to reach out to business owners with at least 10 employees that use Shopify and are doing at least $10 million a year. There's all kinds of different people within there. There are VPs of marketing, there's CEOs, there's people in different geographic locations like Utah or Pennsylvania, two random states. There's all kinds of other data points. This is really an oversimplistic view of this, but these data points that you're taking this big ocean of people, then filtering it into a smaller pond, then subdividing it into different segments and personas. This is what you're going to do to have powerful campaigns. Now, I know we haven't talked into the tools, which we're going to get to in a second, and the scripts, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But this is the fundamental piece I see so many people miss out on, which is why they don't have successful campaigns. Because you need to talk to different people in different ways. You can't just reach out to a certain type of persona and talk to them in one way, and then reach out to another persona and talk to them in the same way. Think, if you're watching this video, do you talk to your parents the same way that you talk to your cousins, the same way you talk to your friends, the same way you talk to your girlfriend or boyfriend? No. Different people talk to in different ways, and that is how you get them to like you the most or respond to your emails the most. So in the same idea, you want to talk to different people in different ways. So first, before you touch any tools, figure out who your total addressable market is, everyone you can possibly reach out to, then subdivide it up into the people you want to talk to, then subdivide it up into different segments of people that you're going to talk to in specific ways. Now, the next logical question is, okay, Matt, this is really cool and theoretical. How do I actually do this? What I like to do is just look at the customers that already paid you, maybe the last 10 of them. I call this the last 10 customers exercise. Look at the last 10 people that paid you money. Look at their headcounts, job titles, pain points. Look at all those people. Boom. Now you can make your ideal client profile, and you can make the sub segment. So maybe you realize out of the last 10 people that paid you, half of them were marketing titles and they had a certain pain point. Awesome. You can make that one campaign. Then the other demographic of people had a different pain point. Awesome. You can make that a different campaign. So in short, figure out all these different parts of the people you're reaching out to. And then if you need help, look at the people that paid you money. That's where you're going to find the best data, because they've already paid you money. That shows that there's demand for your service to those people with those pain points. So start there. Real quick, if you want a partner to build out all the fancy stuff I'm talking about in this video to help you scale and get more meetings using cold outreach, you can apply to work with me and my team using the link in the description below. It's completely free to apply. No worries either way. Otherwise, check out the rest of this video. Now that you've sat down and maybe you realize, okay, cool, I want to reach out to business owners with at least 10 employees that need help with their e-commerce landing page and use Shopify and are doing at least 10 million a year and have X amount of site traffic, and you realize that the VPs of marketing are the best segment within that. Awesome. Now let's go into building the list. So to build the list, there's 4 kind of distinct steps within this. You need to find the companies. You need to find the people at those companies. You need to enrich their info, meaning getting their emails, and then you need to validate their emails exist. So let's jump into this. So the first thing is you're going to have to pick your data source. Now, 90% of the data that you're probably going to want to reach out to, it's either coming from LinkedIn or Google Maps in one way, shape, or form. There's a lot of tools that basically just take data from these 2 places, clean it up, and then resell it to you. Most tools are doing this for good reason, though, because LinkedIn and Google Maps are like the biggest, most relevant databases of publicly available information. LinkedIn, people are literally going online and saying, I work at this company, I have this job title, this is my name, and they're putting it out on the internet. And so plenty of tools go there and collect all that and put it nice together. And then same with Google Maps. If you run like a home service business, you got to list it somewhere. There's real-time data there. That's another great place to scrape stuff. So LinkedIn-based tools, if you're reaching out to white-collar businesses, established businesses that have a LinkedIn presence, you're going to probably want to use one of these tools. The biggest tool that I'd recommend is Apollo. The reason why is Apollo is cheap, cost-effective. There's lots of data there. There's lots of different filters you can play around with, and it handles the sourcing accounts part, finding decision makers part, and enriching their info. So you literally sign up, make an account. They have a free account. You can sign up there, go to Apollo.io. And if you check out my channel, I have a tutorial on how to use Apollo. You can go to the website, you can make an account. It starts for free, and you can kind of use it as a phone book for all the different types of businesses. If they're on LinkedIn, they're probably in Apollo. You can find the companies, you can find the decision makers, you can find their emails. Now you're going to want to use another tool to validate that. We'll get that into a second, but that's a good starting point. The other bucket of tools are Google Map scrapers. So if you're reaching out to local businesses, think like a plumbing company. A plumbing company isn't going to have a LinkedIn presence, and so you're probably not going to find them in a tool like Apollo. So instead, use a Google Map scraper. Tools like Clay let you do this. They have a Google Map scraper built into it. Again, I have a tutorial on this channel talking about Clay. And then Outscraper. I have another video talking about how to scrape service businesses or businesses with Google Maps. You can watch that video. It's all on this channel. And if you want to scrape these types of businesses, look at one of these 2 tools. Now, after you plug into one of these 2 tools, if you're using Apollo, this is going to be pretty straightforward. After you make an account and you plug in, I can just show an example here. All right, so now I'm in Apollo. You can see you can throw a bunch of filters in here, and you can see all these people's data. You can see their names, all their different data. Hopefully this is blurred out because I don't want to leak a bunch of these people's data here. But anyways, you can make Apollo, have a free account. You can find their decision makers, and you can grab their emails straight through this. Now, if you're doing one of the Google Map scrapers, you might not have the luxury of getting every single person's details because it might not even exist on the internet somewhere. So in that case, if you're using a Google Map scraper like Outscraper, it might just give you a generic email. Those work fine in our experience. You can use those, or you can use Clay to fill in the gaps across multiple data sources as mentioned here. Now, after you grab all this data, you're going to validate that the emails exist. I recommend the tool listmint.io. Reason why is because it can validate catch-all emails, which is like another subset of emails, so you get the most amount of emails. There's plenty of validation tools. Listmint's the one I recommend. If you don't validate your emails, you're going to reach out to people that don't exist, which is going to hurt your email deliverability because your emails are going to bounce, which cause a lot of problems. So in summary, the tools you're going to want to use is some combination probably of Apollo, Clay, and Outscraper, plus a validation tool like Listmint. In most cases, in most audiences, and most customers we work with, we use some combination of Apollo, Clay, and Listmint. Now, there are some edge cases where there's different tools with different levels of data that are not accessible in either one of these tools, or maybe they're just better at aggregating them. You can throw those in. This covers 90% of workflows. Plenty of other tools exist, like for one-off enrichments. And if you use Clay, it probably has that tool. So this combination of tools will get you pretty much all the data you're going to need. Now, other points I want to talk about in regards to execution and best practices. List building is not an exact science. You're not probably going to get it right on the first time. This is a lot of guessing and checking. So let's say you want to reach out to the audience I just listed earlier, which is, business owners with at least 10 employees that need help with blah, 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 blah. You're probably not going to nail this on the first time because you're going to throw in some of these filters. You might miss a filter. There could be some data that you think you accounted for that's not being accounted for. And even if you do everything right, tools like Apollo are not perfect. If you grab the data, you put all the filters in, there could be data that's miscategorized or a million other things. So you're going to need to do a lot of guessing and checking to make sure you nail it. And on top of that, you can use tools within Clay. There's a tool called Clayagent, which is like an AI agent, and you can prompt it and say, I want you to go to this website and make sure they're a good fit. If you do that, it can clean up your list. It can check to see if specific leads are actually who you think they are. Make small incremental improvements. There's not a one size fits all. You're never going to get this perfect, but you can get this as close to perfect as possible by doing a lot of guessing and checking and using tools like Clay's Clayagent feature to assess for accuracy. All you're shooting for here is that a vast majority of your leads are accurate. Again, never going to be 100% accurate. There's always nuances. Try your best. Other pieces here on execution, segmentation matters. Like I talked about, you're going to be able to reach out to people in better, more targeted ways and be able to write better scripts, which we're going to get to, if you did a good job segmenting your list. Don't throw everyone in one campaign. Don't throw all your lists in one campaign. Subdivide it up into different segments of people so you can speak to them more clearly. Good list equals better copywriting. If you take a list of people in a small geographic radius and have higher buyer intent and have other pieces that make them a good fit, it's going to make your emails convert way better. Versus if you jam everyone into one giant campaign and you speak to no one, or if you try and speak to everyone, you speak to no one. Having good data makes your scripts way better. A few other common mistakes: reaching out to people who are totally not who you think they are. People who had 20 more employees. This is actually a bad example because that's pretty easy to filter for. But let's say you want to reach out to chiropractors, so you put in the keyword chiropractor in a tool like Apollo. That's not going to give you just chiropractors. If you put chiropractor in, you might get medical billing companies that help chiropractors. You might get software companies that serve chiropractors. You might get marketing agencies that serve chiropractors. There's plenty of companies that might have that keyword on their website. And so by default, just putting in some random keywords and filters in doesn't mean you have a perfect list. Make sure you validate your list before you go live, both on making sure the emails exist and the companies are who you think they are. Also, validate your emails before you launch them. If your list contains decision makers that aren't who they are, then you're not going to be reaching out to people that can buy your services or make a decision on them. Make sure you're reaching out to the companies you think you are, or you're saying the same pain points that you're going to be saying in your email and they address the people you're reaching out to. The devil's in the details. A lot of this stuff might sound obvious, but I am repeating this because I've gotten on so many calls, seen so many campaigns where people think that they are reaching out to one type of company, and then you look at their lead list and it's a totally wrong type of company. And it's no wonder they're not seeing success, because if you aren't reaching out to the people you think you are, you're not going to be able to get on calls with them. All right, now it's time to talk about scripts. So what do you say in the emails to get them on the phone? So now that we've talked about the infrastructure, so we can reach out to thousands of people, and we have a list of people that hopefully should be interested in your services if you're selling something that people want, and you have them segmented so that you can say specific things to them. Now you need to write the script, which is what you say to them, hopefully get them on a call and have them buy your services. So there's 3 core components that I've identified that I think every cold email needs, in my opinion. So maybe I'm wrong here, but this is what I found. So the first part is the reason why you're reaching out. The second part is a value proposition with proof. So what are you selling, and ideally some proof. And then the last thing is a call to action, something that's easy for them to say yes to. So more specifically, first part, reason why you're reaching out. So call out something specific about them. Hi, John. Notice you roughly get 100,000 site visitors at your Shopify store. Now, if you're asking, hey, Matt, how do I know this is true, or where'd you get this data from? If we go back to our list building section here and you're using tools like Apollo and Clay and using technology filters, you can confidently say these things if you've done your due diligence. So this is just an example, but see how if we have a good list of people that have 100,000 site visitors and are using Shopify, you can say really targeted things that sound one-to-one. And so a lot of good script writing starts with list building. So first part of your email, call out something specific about them. This is something that should catch their attention, that is relevant to what you're going to pitch them, and shows them that you did your research, or hopefully that you did your research. Another thing that I like to do is ask a question around their pain point. So again, the reason why we're reaching out, we're saying, hey, I noticed this thing about you. Do you have this problem? So, hi, John, I noticed you get roughly 100,000 monthly site visitors at your Shopify store. Just curious, what conversion rate are you getting with those visitors? So you're asking a question, you're talking about the reason why you're reaching out, because you're asking them if they have a pain. So you're not saying something generic here. You're trying to call out something specific to them. You're asking them if they have a problem. And in a second here, you're going to talk about how you can solve it. This is just one of many ways you can write a cold email. This is what I've landed on, is like an easy framework to work through. Call out something about them and then ask them if they have a problem that you can solve. If they do have the problem that you can solve, amazing. Now your pitch is going to make a ton of sense. And also, if you did an A+++ job with your research, maybe you figured out that they do have a problem and you don't need to make that assumption. You can reframe this and say, hey, John, I noticed you get roughly 100,000 site visitors. That means that even just a 1% improvement could lead to X amount of revenue. So you're not even asking them a question. You're just making an observation. But all of this starts with specificity. So the first part of the email, the reason why you're reaching out, ideally keep it as specific as possible. Next, you're going to go into your value proposition with proof. So you're going to simply tell them what you have to sell or what you have to offer. As an example, we're a Shopify conversion rate optimization agency. If we take those 100,000 site visitors and improve it a couple percent, this can mean X amount of revenue. This is just one example of the way of writing this. Another way of writing this, the 201 version, is adding proof into this. So hey, I noticed you're a supplement brand. You have 100,000 site visitors. How are you currently doing this? We're a conversion rate optimization agency, and we recently helped another supplement brand just like you get this big fancy result. I'm just throwing random words in here. Point being is that if you can call out something specific about them and a specific customer type, persona, whatever it is, and then illustrate how you help someone just like them, that's going to make your email just that much better. One of the biggest objections to people responding to cold emails or wanting to get on a call is that they don't believe that you can do the thing that you say you can do. Most people can make an outrageous claim or a crazy claim, but very few people back it up. So the more evidence you can give, the more specificity you can have in your email, the more likely someone is to respond. I get emails all day where someone says, hey, I can help you boost your revenue, but I don't believe them because I get a million of those emails. On the other hand, if someone said, hey, Matt, I noticed you're a cold email agency and you have this pain point, here's someone else just like you that we've helped get this problem solved for. Now I'm suddenly going to believe them a lot more because it shows that they did their research and maybe they have proof with someone very similar to me. That's one of the biggest objections in sales as a whole, is they don't think you can get the result. And one of the easiest ways you can prove that you can get results is by showing proof of someone else you've helped. Another way you can do this is show like averages. So I'm just showing an example here with a case study. You can also show averages. So if you work with 100 customers and your average customer gets 10 extra appointments per month, then you can throw that in your email. You can also make it relevant to them. Again, specificity is king. If they're a supplement brand, talk about a supplement brand. The whole point of cold email is that it's a one-to-one channel. Talk in a way that's direct to them, specifically about how you can help them and why you're best positioned to solve their problems. They don't care about anything that is not related to them because humans are inherently selfish people and they want to solve their own problems. And so you need to talk about how you can solve their problem specifically and make them believe that you can do what you're saying that you can do. The last thing is call to action, something easy to say yes to. So far, we've called out something specific about them. We said, hey, you, I noticed this thing about you. And then you told them, hey, I think I should help you. Here's some proof that I can help you. Now you want them to take the next step, which is a call to action, and ideally something they can easily say yes to. A generic option that a lot of people will end their emails with is like, hey, do you have 15 minutes to discuss this? Most people have 15 minutes, but that doesn't mean they want to spend it with you because you're a stranger that just landed their inbox making some claim. So this isn't terrible, but it does cause more resistance. You're pitching services. They don't know a whole lot about you, and you're going straight for the kill, offering for time on their calendar, which most of them don't want to give up unless you did a phenomenal job articulating your service, which some people do. Better options, or options that I prefer, is to go in a little bit softer. Offer instead to say, hey, can I send you some more info? Can I send you something for free? Can I send you a video, something custom, whatever it is? The easier it is for someone to say yes to, the more yeses you're going to get, which is more potential leads that you can nurture and try and get onto calls. So make it really easy for them to say yes to. Something that's easy to say yes to is usually something that's custom, that's high value. If you do all three of those things, you're going to get more hand raisers, which in turn is going to get you more leads and ideally more calls and revenue. A few more overarching principles with cold email: talk in a direct tone, just like I was showing here earlier. You want to be talking to them specifically. Hi, John, I noticed this thing about you. Do you have this problem? One really easy framework that I like to think through is use keywords like you more than keywords like I. So say you more than you're saying I, we, and are. As an example, I noticed this thing about you. I saw you have this problem. Do you have this problem? Would you be interested in something like this? You're talking in a very direct and one-to-one way. Not that it's bad to talk about you, yourself, and your credentials. Just make sure that most of your email is focused around them, the prospect, not you and everything that you can do. Another framework that I like to think through is to write your emails as scripts, similar to how you would do door-to-door sales, or if you're talking to someone in person. If you walk up to someone directly, that is almost the same way that you would write your cold email script. It is not the same as ad copy where you're talking in a very general way. You want to say, I noticed this thing about you, or talk about their problems, how you can help them directly. People watching ads know that they're watching ads and it's being broadcasted to thousands of people. When you're sending one-to-one emails, they don't know that, so talk to them like you're talking to them directly. Other overarching principles: proof is king. I've hit on this earlier. Proof sells more than anything. One of the biggest differentiators that you can have is that you did something and you can prove it to them. So it's highly targeted, it's highly relevant, it's not debatable. A bunch of people get emails all day in some way saying that they can help them in some big fancy way, but very few people have specific and relevant proof to back up their claims. You don't need a crazy claim if you have great results. So as an example, this is a question for you, the viewer. So would you rather hire someone who has helped someone exactly like you get the exact result that you're looking for, or just hire some random person who made some outrageous claim? Very obviously, you would rather hire someone who has gotten the results you're looking for someone just like you. And so the claim doesn't matter as much as the proof. More proof, the better results you're going to get with your email outreach. Other thing is specificity. The more specific you are with your emails, the better. If you did a good job building your list, you can write write better copy that is very specific. You can say something like, hi, I know this is a specific thing about you, versus going super raw and talking in a very general way, which does not appeal to very many people. So as an example, with a supplement company, you can call out that they're a supplement company. You can share examples of other supplement companies you've helped. You can show results from other supplement companies. You can use specific language for supplement companies. This is way more compelling than saying, I help e-commerce stores. You can talk about all the different stuff that you help with supplement brands and how you've helped them. As another example, hey, we're going to help you scale your business versus, hey, I know you're a supplement brand. Here's 10 other supplement brands I help. Can I help you scale too? A lot better. The more specific your email, the more compelling it is. Couple more quick things. Offer matters. What you're willing to offer for free makes a huge difference. It reduces the barrier of entry. It makes someone more likely to respond. The biggest levers for interest in your emails is how specific you can make your email and how compelling whatever your offering is that you're pitching them. So the winning combination is to have a really good offer and to make it really specific with some sort of proof or credibility. Keep your email short and concise. The more short they are, the more likely someone is to read them. You're fighting for the attention of people who have email notifications, phone notifications, Slack notifications, kids crying in the background, employees saying whatever. If you make your email skimmable and more easy to read, they're more likely to say yes. Long emails filter out a large demographic of people because some people will just see this big block of text and not even want to read them because they don't know you, they don't know what they're reading, and it makes it very hard for them to understand what you're saying. And if you did your list building properly, your script writing is going to get a whole lot easier. So the reason why I did it in the order of infrastructure, which you need to start anything, then list, and then finally script, is because if you did everything properly and you built a good list, script writing is way easier. Having good segmented targeted lists does a lot of the heavy lifting for being able to say really targeted and powerful scripts. All right, I really appreciate you watching this video. If you want to see if we can help you scale using cold outreach campaigns, you can apply to work with us using the first link in the description below. Otherwise, if you just want to watch a bunch of free content, my YouTube video is filled with a bunch of free videos for you to watch entirely for free. So check all those out. Really appreciate you and have a great rest of your day.